Look at what my stinking cat did to my palm tree plant. I was eventually going to transplant that into a different container with different soil, but I guess I have no choice but to do it now.
Damn, check out them roots though. My goodness.
What's going on, my plant peoples? I am the ADHD gardener, where I use gardening, houseplants, and humor as a much needed form of mental health therapy. And let me tell you, I'm gonna need some stress reduction right now, because this cat right here had literally knocked over and took a crap in my palm tree plant. But it's okay, because I need to repot it anyway with the correct soil. So we might as well start here first. And Ramen, don't you even look at this plant. I know, oh my gosh. Second objective is repotting this big yucca plant. This thing is really, really large, but it has a small container. So now's the time to just fix it all up and redo the soil and repot it with a larger pot. So let's go do this before my cat decides to come and poop into one of these other different plants. To best understand what type of soil requirements these plants are going to be needing, it's best to know where these plants came from in their environments. The palm tree soil requirements, we're just going to think about where its environment is. Where do you always find typically like some palm tree plants? Right by the ocean, right by a body of water, and it's usually maybe around sandy and maybe a lot of like, broken or fallen bark around there. So just think about it. This loves a lot of water, but it loves a lot of draining water. So that means like this is usually going to be found with a lot of like sandy material inside of it. If we do not have sand, like I don't have sand, we can use perlite. It just wants a lot of drainage. You also could possibly find maybe some bark, or maybe some like remnants of like falling bark or leaves, or anything like that that's found in the jungle environment or a beach environment. When it comes to your Lowe's plants, and any kind of plants that you buy in general, it doesn't have to be Lowe's, it could be any other store, whatever. Most of these plants are all like potted up in peat moss, which is not necessarily a bad thing, because it makes for a great grow medium, especially for propagating plants and everything, but it's not the ideal conditions for a lot of plants. This is all the soil amendments that I'm gonna be using for my palm tree plant. This is peat moss. Of course, you can use coco coir if you have it. I just happen to have some peat moss available. This is perlite. This is gonna offer a lot of the drainage. I threw in a little bit of vermiculite. This is totally optional. This is absolutely not necessary. I just threw this in there because it does offer some drainage, but it does offer, it does hold on to water as well. So it's kind of like a 2-for-1. This is worm castings. I love worm castings because this is going to need some nutrients and some, nutrients. So that's what the worm casting is for. And then a little bit of the orchid bark, just because remember, where you would normally find some palm trees, you're probably going to have some fallen bark from another palm tree surrounding it or anything like that. So we're going to mix this all together, and this is going to be the main soil for our palm tree. Here we go. This was so pretty, I felt kind of bad actually messing it up. Be careful of the perlite dust, because that is some serious dust. So I'm just kind of covering it a little bit to cover the dust. A lot of the indoor potting mixes are mostly all peat moss. And that is why I'm not a fan of it, which is okay if you need to still use it, because I'm still using it. But we're going to amend the heck out of it to make it, or at least mimic like some actual soil, because potting mix, peat moss, not by itself is not, it's not nutrient dense enough for our plants. Oh, look how good that looks. Look how good this looks, yo. Oh my goodness. All right, this looks pretty good. So now we have that, move that over. This is the Majesty palm that I have here. Okay. Look at this. Look at that condition. Look what my cat, Ramen, has done to this plant. Oh my gosh. So turn your plant to the side, jiggle that container, and look at this. This definitely is going to take a hit already. I already know that, because look at the missing chunk. Look at that. That was from my cat. That was definitely from my cat. That little freaking turd. So I'm just going to loosen up all this peat moss inside of it. I want to at least hold on to as much roots as possible. So we're going to be very, very gentle Ooh, if it's one thing I'm learning through therapy with plants is I need to be more gentle. I need to be more soft with my plants because everybody who knows me knows I'm a brute. I am very heavy-handed. Yeah, I'm not very dainty. So I need to try my best to be very, very gentle with my plants. Look at all this peat moss. All this peat moss, and of course some of the roots that were left over or whatever. I mean, imagine there was more peat moss in this. So I'm not gonna get rid of this at all because we can recycle a lot of this material. So we're gonna keep this and put it into the old container, and I'll store it for some other reason, or maybe I'll just use this as a base for the next plant, but fix it up just like I fixed up that. I mean, look at the difference. Look at the difference. My soil mix at the base. I'm gonna add a little more orchid bark because, I mean, why not? It's still gonna offer a lot of drainage to that orchid bark. All right, so now you're gonna have to hold it in place because this is gonna be a bit.
Peat moss is very acidic. It has an extremely low pH of like a 3.0. It is super acidic, so there are a lot of plants that do not like such an acidic environment. That is why you have to be careful with some of these plants.
This plant, on the other hand, the yucca plant, this one is found in a desert environment. This one can survive on neglect, can survive off of just basically forgetting that that plant exists. It doesn't need a lot of water at all, which is a great thing because it's one of those plants where you only have to water like once a month or something like that. It's fantastic. But it does require draining soil because when you do water it, you're gonna water it really good, but that water needs to escape and it needs to drain right through that soil. So that means this is gonna require a lot more perlite. Or, I mean, if you have cactus mix, a succulent mix, that would be fantastic for this yucca plant. Now, I don't have all of that, but that means you can make your own with using a lot of perlite as a form of drainage, which is awesome. And that is what this requirement is gonna, this plant is gonna need. I needed to get more peat moss, but I also wanted to reuse the peat moss from the, from the palm tree plant. So I'm gonna use this also because this is not gonna be enough for this big yucca plant. For this yucca plant, this is pretty much going to be very similar to the palm tree plant, just less orchid bark. I mean, I just threw in a little orchid bark just for some like added bulk and texture. Maybe, it would add, it definitely does help with drainage. So the most drainage I can get with the yucca plant is what I'm looking for. Depending on the type of plant that you're trying to repot, not every plant is going to want a lot of drainage. Not every plant is going to want orchid bark or can tolerate orchid bark. Now, many plants are probably going to want, like there's always some sort of combination. This is just what my standard combination of what I would use. It's just the different amounts vary per plant. Oh, ramen. So I'm just going to cover that up. That's how you can tell if you have enough perlite inside of it. Look at that. This makes one big ball. This cannot happen because if you have a large container like we're going to be using, this is going to hold on to a lot of moisture. And this is a no-go. That means we need more perlite. Oof, that is dusty. Let's cover that. I have a lot of, look, I'm putting a lot of perlite at the bottom of this because this is going to help drain what I need. Whoa, wow. Look at that. Can you see it is starting to spiral real bad? That is the beginning and definite signs of root bound.
Ew, check out them roots though. My goodness. Oh, no, this cat is not. Nope, don't even look at the soil. Don't even smell it. Get out of here. Oh my goodness, I know that cat was not trying to look at it. He's stalking my soil. I did a video with my ramen and this very same yucca plant last year, but the roots were not root bound. I know that that soil from that yucca plant is still good because I made that mix myself. So what I'm going to do is just take that whole entire plant and put it right into that new pot. I don't want to mess with it because I already know that that soil is still good. I'm just going to pop this plant into the new pot and just leave it as is and then continue filling up the top. I'm wondering how high should I go with the soil because I don't want this plant that's going to be very top heavy to topple over. So I'm wondering how much of the stem or the stalk I should be covering. What do you think? Let me know down in the comments below. How high would you put that soil in the pot?
This yucca plant loves direct sunlight. I mean, it just thrives in that sun. So remember, when you're putting your plants inside, make sure that this plant gets a lot of whatever grow light that you're gonna be having, or if you have a south-facing window, that's perfect. I have a south-facing window upstairs. I'm gonna let Jose move this plant because I am not doing that at all up the stairs. So I'm gonna put this one in my south-facing room and leave it there all winter. It can tolerate cooler temperatures. Maybe you wanna overwinter it in your garage or something, but it still definitely needs like a minimum of like 50 degrees. To really, stay pretty green and stay really nice. Definitely a lot of sun. This can handle partial shade because this is what this plant was tolerating throughout the summertime. It had about 3/4 of full sun and then the rest of the afternoon was shade. So you can tolerate, this can tolerate lower sunlight, but don't be surprised that this plant starts to get a little stringy and leggy because of the lack of the sun that is required for it to be in this optimal, beautiful state like this. In regards to the palm tree care, please see my other palm tree saving video. That will give you all the information you'll need to care for these palm trees. I really hope you enjoyed this video and you got some good information out of it. Let me know down in the comments below. Do you have a yucca plant? Have you ever tried to repot it? And if so, how long have you had it? I mean, did it get this big? It's crazy. I hope you enjoyed this video and you got some good information out of it. Don't forget to smash that like button, hit the notification bell, subscribe, all that so you don't miss out any upcoming videos. Also, I do live stream on Sundays, well, twice a month, and you can go catch me there. I also live stream 2 Sundays a month on YouTube, so catch me there. Also, I'm on Facebook and Instagram. You can always drop me a message, we can chit chat or anything like that. So until the next episode, you guys, where you and me both are gonna be growing our happiness one plant at a time, one day at a time. I'll check y'all later in the next episode. Peace and love.